Thank you for tuning in to No Sudden Moves Radio. And remember, stay on the proven path so you don't risk falling behind. We're not business legends. We don't overthink it. Look around and see what everyone else is doing. If it's working for them, it will work for you.
Welcome to Wait It Out, where we believe there's no reason to act now. The opportunity will still be there when the timing is better.
The age of disruption isn't coming, it's here. And the boldest move isn't following the crowd, it's following your why. I'm Patrick Ledden, and you're listening to Disruption Lab. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Disruption Lab. My guest today is professional golfer Celina Sattelkau. Celina grew up in Hambach, Germany, a beautiful place surrounded by nature and known as the cradle of German democracy. She first experienced golf riding around the course in a stroller and then picked up the game herself at 7 and eventually became one of Europe's most accomplished young amateur golfers. She came to Vanderbilt University in 2019 where I had the pleasure of having her as a student. During her collegiate career, Celina became an All-American, earned first team All-SEC honors twice, represented Germany in international competition, and received the prestigious Dinah Shore Trophy for her accomplishments in golf, academics, leadership, and community service. But her path was far from easy. After contracting COVID, Celina developed neuropathy in her hands and feet, experienced significant mental health challenges, and had to step away from the game she loved. Her journey back required courage, patience, help from others, and a renewed connection to the reason she loved golf in the first place. Celina turned professional in 2024 and now competes on the Ladies European Tour. In 2026, she broke through with her first professional victory, won again only 10 days later, and has continued to climb the world rankings. Today, we're going to talk much more than golf. We're going to explore competition, setbacks, identity, mental health, asking for help, and what this wonderfully frustrating game of golf can teach us all about navigating disruption in our own lives. So with all that said, Celina, it's great to see you again and welcome to the Disruption Lab.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you again. I think the last time I saw you was probably 2 years ago when I just had left Vandy, and I'm super excited to talk today about everything I've learned and golf has taught me as well in life, and yeah, just hear your perspectives as well, and I think it will be really good.
It will be really good. I remember the last time I saw you because my wife, Jamie, I think you know her from Vanderbilt as well, she and I were walking out from a dinner, and I think you were right on the corner of 21st, walking back toward campus, and we took a quick photo with you before you went off on more ventures. So it's so good to see you.
I remember that was right before World Championships, actually, so I remember that vivividly, and that's definitely
And she says hello. She says her fondest to you. All right, so tell me about this place, Hambach. I understand from my research getting ready for this, it's surrounded by nature and in the shadow of a castle, known as the cradle of democracy. You know, tell us about this place and how it shaped you.
So yeah, I grew up here, obviously, in nature. It's like a big forest. It's called Palatinate Forest. It's one of the biggest forests in Germany, actually, and it's very beautiful. And I think it kind of set for me just the love for nature I have, and also why I love golf, because golf is such a sport that is really set in nature. You kind of play with the golf courses. I mean, if you play links golf, for example, or very tree line courses, that really comes in having to play with your surroundings, and that's what I really love. And also kind of created my passion for sustainability, environmental issues, and advocating for that. So I think that's something that really shaped my identity from a young age, and that I was able to kind of maybe foster a bit more when I actually went to Vanderbilt University and studied, environmental science there, for example. And then when it comes to just the historic part, I'm just honestly so proud to be living in a place that's, so cool and has such a deep root in German history. So in 1832, there was, the first German flag as we know it today. So in black, red, and gold was kind of put up here. And it's just really cool for me. I always brag about it, that I live in such a cool place. And I love coming back here. Obviously, I travel the world a lot these days. I've been to many different countries. I've been to Australia this year, South Africa, Asia. I mean, I've been to basically everywhere besides South America, I think, so far this year. And it's really cool to always come back here and kind of be rooted in that identity as well.
Have you found a place where the golf ball just bounces right for you?
I think the golf ball has its own mind, so even here, my local course, sometimes I get bad bounces, and I don't think you can really rely on that. But I think, honestly, like the more you embrace that the golf ball is going to do whatever it wants to, I think the more you're happy you can play.
Yeah, there's something about in life, right, where you can do everything you can do, and there's still going to be some things that are going to just that day, It's just not going to bounce the right direction. So I have to ask you this early on. Growing up in that town that you grew up in Germany, in Hambach, and that experience, kind of a place that is so deep historically, since 1832 with the hoisting of the flag. I mean, what did it feel like when you represented the country?
I love representing Germany. That's probably like my favorite thing. And I got into the national team kind of early at 15, which is a bit on the earlier end. And when I got the call, I remember it vividly. I was so just overjoyed and so proud. And I was able to represent Germany in a lot of different competitions, like European Championships, European Team Championships, World Championships. And I think, so we actually won European Championships as a team and got bronze at World Championships. And I think those two moments especially were so, I think I'll cherish them for the rest of my life, because I was with these girls that I love to death, that are my best friends, and we battled for a country. And I think I went all out. Like, I would have a hair tie with Germany. I would write the letters on my legs. I would have on my face, I would have the German flag and GER, and I would just rep it completely. And it's honestly my favorite thing to do to, represent the German team. But I think similarly, I loved representing Vanderbilt University as well. Like, that was so cool to kind of stand for something bigger. And kind of being able to represent something bigger and kind of showcase to the world what maybe your country or university, or I was able to represent Europe as well, like your continent can do, and kind of showcasing, like almost standing like for other players. And I think that's really, really cool.
Do you feel that puts a different kind, because I can see the upside of it. I understand myself as well. There's been times where I'm like, I represent this organization or this institution or the military when I was there or whatever it might be. But there's a pressure, I would imagine, that can come in those moments when you're like, I'm standing on the shoulders of all these other people right now. Do you feel that type of pressure?
I think there definitely is a lot of pressure in that, because other people have expectations, and obviously you have expectations that you don't want to let your country or your organization, your university down. I do think the better the team and the better the coaching of the team as well, and the leadership of the team, the easier it is to not let those kind of bad thoughts come in. Because I think in the end, if you put too much pressure or too much negative thoughts on, if I'm not going to do well, I'm not going to represent my country well, I think it's not going to be helpful for peak performance. I think in peak performance, as a pro golfer, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. You need to be really free. You need to have a growth mindset. You need to be having fun. And I think the quicker you start thinking about those negative aspects, the sooner one or most of these things are going to go away and your performance is going to plummet. So I think a good leadership in that, which I've had, is really, really valuable, to really keep the joy up and keep just being proud, as a feeling up, and not really be worried about the negative potential things that could happen.
Yeah, well, we're going to dig into more into some of that, because there's words that, as I was preparing for the interview and just kind of reflecting back on knowing you, there's words like joy and gratitude and being grounded and commitment that came up time and time again. So we'll want to dig into those a little bit more, because I think it's really important when you're following your passions and you are taking risk, you're trying to disrupt things, and in your case, win the tournament. That there's a lot of things that can go your way, a lot of things that can't, but the ability to stay grounded and be grateful that you're even in the game can be really exciting. But before we get to that, take us back when you were a little girl. Who put the club in your hands?
My parents, I think. And I actually, I've been on the golf course my whole life. My parents would play and I would be in the stroller, and then I would be on the putting green just sitting. And I went to summer camp. I was I'm kind of short now, and I was always kind of on the shorter and a bit tinier, very skinny side. So my parents didn't want to put me into the game too quickly. They which I think is a very good thing. They didn't want to break me almost, so they kind of took their time in putting me in. And I started at a summer camp, and what I loved about it wasn't necessarily so much the golf, it was the camping and being with the people. And I think because it was such a wonderful environment that I really enjoyed being in, I always had a very competitive drive in me. I was able to pair that with the joy I had. And then kind of in that setting, I was able to really kind of channel that into, I love golf. I love competing golf. I love these little tournaments. And I was 10. I was playing other 10-year-olds. We were shooting however many shots, definitely more than I have now. But I think I was able to combine a lot of aspects of my identity with just the way the sport works, that it almost helped me kind of reach, I guess, what I've been able to reach. Like the setup, I guess, has been really, really good for me.
That's amazing. You know, I was thinking about the trip between Nashville, Tennessee, where I'm at, and Germany, where you're at, and it's not a quick hop, skip, and a jump. It's a bit of a ways. I think since I've been in Nashville over the last few years, I've done some work in Bremen, Germany, and in Frankfurt, and been in Munich. So I've been a few places. So I understand the distance between the two. So take us from the, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 years old. You're thinking about going to school somewhere. How the heck did you end up in Nashville, Tennessee?
So a lot of people in Europe actually go to the States for university to play collegiate sports, not only golf, but also tennis or other sports like soccer. And for me, I had some older friends that obviously went over, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I want to do that. And I want to, become a pro one day. So it's like the perfect way, because especially in golf, it's a really, really great pathway to professional golf. So you do college golf because you just really have great facilities in the US. You have good competition, coaching, like the environment of everything, really, like the whole thing together. And in Germany, actually, you can't really go to university and do sports well. There's not really a good system for it, so, which is very sad, I think. So that's why a lot of people go to the US so that you can combine both. And I think that's a really important thing, because you don't want to choose one. If you can do both, why choose one? I think that's a big thing. And I went on a couple of visits at different universities, and the second I stepped on Vanderbilt's campus in Nashville, I loved it. I loved the surrounding. I talked to the coaches, that was really good, and just like I wanted something that was going to challenge me academically and athletically, but also not challenge me, but also help me grow and develop into the person and the golfer I want to develop. And I think, the reality in the end is always a bit more, let's say, multifaceted and like more colorful than the expectation. I think when I committed, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to have the best 4 years of my life. Obviously, didn't know COVID was going to happen at that point, because it ended up actually being 5 years at Vandy. But yeah, I think for me, and I would choose it all over again, I loved every aspect about the university and the program and everything. And again, I think there's been setbacks, but I wouldn't trade those either. I think it shaped me into who I am today. And even though it was challenging at times, I would do it again like that.
If nothing else, you had me in the classroom, right?
Yes.
This is your moment to tell my audience how great I was.
Awesome professor. Favorite class, for sure. So
there you go. Gold star. No doubt about it. So I was watching a video where you were going, it was going back and forth with, I believe it's one of the Vanderbilt coaches. And in that you talked publicly about your publicly about your health challenges around COVID. And I understand that you developed neuropathy in your hands and your feet. And I've had some nerve challenges myself, and I know that it comes with a lot of different sensations, including burning at times, and other times just lack of sensitivity or tingling. I understand you couldn't hold a golf club. What was that physically like? To me, that's a moment of, as we would say, as James Patterson and I would say, that's a disruptive moment. It stops you in your tracks, kind of gets you out of your normal path, and it causes you to go, I'm not sure what to do with this.
So you kind of set the setting a bit. So I came to Vandy and then Vanderbilt University in a more formal sense. And my first year, I didn't really do too well with golf. The transitioning from Germany to US was pretty hard for me. And then COVID hit. So obviously, golf was done, anything. And then I kind of, had some troubles, didn't know if I was gonna, how to come back and kind of just figure out how to play better, but have more fun as well. And so there was a lot of challenge in that my freshman year, and I was actually, able to overcome that a lot by just really focusing on the fun in the game. And obviously I put a lot of work in, but I think for me that was a game changer, like growing and having fun. And so sophomore year, I'm an All-American, everything's going great. And no one expected me to play that well, but I did. And then now I'm in this awesome spot. I've overcome my challenge, and boom, I come back to Nashville, I get COVID, and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll do quarantine for 10 days and I'll come back to competing, like no biggie. And I get out of quarantine, and all of a sudden, like as you said, like I get really, really weird sensations in my hands and feet, and it's just like really weird. And I'm like, what is happening? And as you know, the university, like the medical center at Vanderbilt is so good. I go there and they can't really figure it out. They end up giving me a diagnosis, but no treatment. Because there wasn't, at the time, I remember they told me I'm the first case in Tennessee with this disease that stemmed from COVID. So that was a very
Congratulations.
that was a very difficult pill for me to swallow, because I was used to pushing my body, I was used to pushing myself to extreme limits. And also, even when things went astray my freshman year, I was able to kind of pull myself out of it. And I was faced with something that I couldn't do anything about it. There wasn't a medicine that I could really take. I mean, I took something to kind of make the pain go down, but that made me so tired. It was not a long-term solution. And it wasn't actually like healing the issue. And so it was kind of like a whirlwind of like 3 years where it did like get better by itself a bit, and like some other treatments that we did, but actually like really finding a cure didn't really work out until 3 years later, and kind of a chance German doctor that I went to, because I was like, I've been to all the specialists, I don't know where else to go, I'll just give this another try. So I think that for me, I think having to deal with something you can't do anything about, I think that's so difficult. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm super grateful for the people that stood by me during that time, because I know that wasn't always easy. Like, I definitely wasn't my best self, because I was like, I think the more doctors I went to, they were like, oh, we don't know, we can't help you. The more I was like, is this actually real? Am I imagining it? And obviously it was real. And then just having the uncertainty, I remember just when I had finished college, I was like practicing again, and it just kind of started getting worse a bit. And I was like, I don't know if I can play pro golf. Like, I don't think I can play pro golf like this, because it's so much more tournaments, practice, everything. So in a way, like, I was lucky I got the treatment at the time I did.
Was there a moment where you were just ready to walk away from it?
That's a very good question. I think the treatment came early enough before I turned pro. So I turned pro end of 2024, and I got treatment this summer of 2024. So it came just early enough to where I didn't have to really face that question. There definitely were times at different stages in my career where I was struggling maybe a bit differently, where I wasn't sure if that was going to be the path for me. But I think something that has always helped me is kind of go back to the roots, and that still helps me to this day. Because I mean, I started pro golf last year, and I was like, what's this dream everyone's talking about? This is not a dream. Like, I was not enjoying it in the beginning, because I wasn't playing well, I was crying, I was like, this is, I don't know, I think the reality, like, pro sports sounds so awesome, but then in a sport like golf, like, you don't have a fixed salary, you don't have, like, literally the scores you shoot that week is going to be your payment. And if you don't do well, zero. And I think the reality is so harsh that I am loving it now, like the highs and lows. But I think getting started, especially when you don't have the most success from the beginning, is really hard. So I guess to answer your question, there have been times I've definitely thought about walking away and choosing a different path, because obviously I have a good education from Vanderbilt University. But I think for me, I love playing golf, and I think for me it's the best place to grow as of right now as a player and a person. And I really believe in what I can do athletically, in my skills. So that's where I want to be.
So you mentioned growth a few times as we've gone through, and having that mindset, looking for ways to grow. What would you suggest if somebody was listening to this and they're kind of going through whatever their own neuropathy moment is, where they're not sure, maybe it is a health situation, maybe it's something else, and they're just not really sure what to do next, or if they got it in them to hang in there? What would you say to them you've learned?
Something that I keep coming back to in pro golf, especially now that the stakes are so much higher as well: trust yourself. I keep telling myself that so many times, because I think and that could be any listener right now, and that could be you as well, you have so many abilities in you, and you can dare almost to trust yourself. Because I think sometimes we kind of look for outer solutions. We go here and we go there and we look somewhere. But I think sometimes if you really go and just trust what you can do and who you are as a person, and but also, I mean, for that you have to know who you are. And that might be the most difficult part. Then you can kind of overcome any challenge, in my opinion, because we have such an innate ability to fight and to be strong. And I think you can really channel that. And I think sometimes it's hard because we have these outer experiences that happen to us that kind of make us crumble down and make us maybe question ourselves. Pressure, job, school, maybe like family issues. But I think in the end, trust yourself, and that also means trusting the people around you. in a way. So I think always really, like for me, I wouldn't be where I am today without the people that have helped me get there, which means my family, it means my friends, it means my coaches, my support team, and
your college
I trust
professors.
myself. Yes, of course. That's also my surrounding. No, like literally, like I wouldn't be where I was without the people that have shaped my life. And I would say for sure that my college professors, including you and your wife, have been a part of that. So yeah, I think trust yourself, and that means like don't give up on yourself. Like my coach always tells me, always bet on yourself. And I think that's something, when you're scared, that's something to remember.
You know, when and James Patterson and I wrote the book, we talked about these 4 fundamental facts about life, just things we need to realize, especially when it comes to these disruptions, these curveballs in life. And the first one is that the status quo is a deceptive little devil. If you like things to be perfect in the way they are, enjoy it, because it's going to change. Something's going to happen. The winds are going to blow a different direction, you know, on the 3rd day of the tournament type of thing, to put it in your language. And the second one is the fundamental fact. The second fundamental fact is it's okay because you're wired to disrupt. And we mean disrupt in regard to, like, you can take something that's coming at you and use that as fertile ground for progress or innovation. So we're wired to disrupt because we have big minds that can come up with new ideas and be creative. We have experiences. You know, we've played lots of rounds of golf before in our lives, if you will, and those have taught us things. And we're also wired to disrupt because we have resources. We have team members, we have colleagues, we have time, we have energy, we have all these things we can employ. But then sometimes, and there's a couple other ones, but people can read the book if they want to know the other ones. But those are the 2 I want to talk about. But sometimes, I mean, especially like in golf, when I watch golf, you know, you and I were chatting beforehand. I said I grew up and I caddied golf. I don't really play golf. Golf takes a lot of time to get good at golf, and I don't want to be bad at it. So, you know, you have to take time to do it. But one thing I always notice is that there's 2 things that can be a challenge to me, in addition to just the mechanics of swinging. And one is that you have to kind of accept the last shot that you took and then let it go and move on. And that can be hard, sports is a great example to me. Like a baseball player makes an error. All right, the pros have the ability to go, okay, that wasn't good, but I got to move on. The ball's going to be hit again. Golfers have that, professional golfers or any golfers that are good have that same ability to go, okay, that shot's over, I need to move on. As opposed to sometimes we just carry it in our mind the entire time. And the other thing is the intense focus it takes to do it well. Because I can find myself on the golf course just swinging away and not even thinking about visioning where this ball is going to go to. So I'll let you take either one of those, but I just love to hear your thoughts on how you have the ability to let some things go that have already happened and to focus on what's next.
I think something or sentences that I've really embraced last year as I was playing pro golf, because I like to have a very like multifaceted approach to things, but still in my mind sometimes I think in boxes. So for me it's like I need to hit my fairway, which is like you have to be in position out of like from the first shot. I have to hit the green so I can have 2 putts or 1 putt for a birdie. So basically I need to be in the perfect positions to do well. That's sometimes what my mind jumps to. And obviously when you play different golf courses, like we play a golf course in India, you will not be in the perfect position most times. So you just need to kind of accept that. And for me, a sentence that's really carried me is, in uncertainty lies possibility. And I think that's so meaningful, because sometimes, in a way, when things get uncertain, you're like, oh, like for me, I'm going to make bogey from here, which is 1 above par, which is like a bad score. But I think if I really embrace that in uncertainty, there's possibility, I can find ways to really be creative in problem solving and kind of give myself the room to be creative and to grow and to kind of learn. And I think that's something that's obviously worked better and worse, but because we're human, but has actually worked pretty well for me, having this approach of like, I almost want to be uncertain. Like I love the idea of things being uncertain. And that's something that doesn't maybe come easy to me, but that I've like started to learn and embrace and kind of almost practice. Like when there's a difficult tee shot, like 1 hole in Sweden, there was water left and trees right, and I was like, it was going down, and I was so scared in the prep. But then I went up to the tee shot and I really rehearsed that sentence again, in uncertainty lies possibility. And I love like the free fall of possibilities, kind of like loving that free fall of like taking a step over the cliff. And I think that's something in our brain, I think if we kind of take that step, we can just be so much more free and in freedom. I mean, it comes peak performance, comes disruption, comes all these positive things that we want to achieve. So I think that's something that's really helped me. I've learned from golf.
That's so interesting you said it, because as you were talking about that, I'm like, wait a minute. I figured that out about myself at some time along the way, that I tell people I'm comfortable with ambiguity. I'm comfortable with not knowing something. And I don't know if I always felt that way. I probably didn't. Probably stumbled upon it older than you are right now. But I think that came from the confidence in my own skills. And like saying, okay, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but I know what I bring to the table and I know what people around me can help me do. And it's going to work out fine. And I feel like there's this freedom that comes from that, as opposed to feeling like I've got to have everything exactly the way it needs to be. And if it isn't that way, then, that type of thing.
No, exactly. And that's also kind of going back to like the trust yourself sentence I said before. I think that's exactly what you're touching on now, is you have the ability. And I think if you're conscious of the ability you have, then you can kind of free yourself up. And I think we always come back, like when we talk about disruption too, which I mean is your topic really, like I think we really need to have this freedom in minds and within other people, and not think so much in boxes, which I think is something sometimes maybe not so much in golf, but I've seen, obviously I've studied finance, something that happens in the business world sometimes. People start thinking in boxes and it actually limits what they can do.
Yeah. I just happened to be this last, I don't know, within the last couple of months, I was in California for a speaking event, and I stayed at the location where they were doing at the time it was the women's NCAA golf tournament. So I was out in California just like a month and a half ago, maybe late May.
Yeah.
And I was there on the very beginning of the tournament. I think it was like the week or two later, the men's was going to be there, I believe, is how it was set up.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how, you can get me right on this, it was like, I think I spoke on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and it was like a day where they could choose to, if they wanted to, during a particular window, walk the course and see what the course is like. And I initially thought, oh, that's great to be able to walk the course and see what it's like. But then they said, well, for some of the players, it's not great. Some of the players don't like to walk the course as much and see all the details of it. I'd love to see that, because it seems to me if you can kind of see where things are, there's a positive to it, but maybe there's also something that can get in your head.
So you talked about caddying before. Obviously,
Yeah.
when you play pro golf, you have a caddy most of the times, which is something we don't have in college golf, for example, because it's not allowed and it just doesn't really work. But that's something a caddy, for example, in pro golf, that's his main task, is to basically gather all the information and filter it, and then only give the player what the player wants. And a good caddy is a caddy that can give your player, the player, what this person wants. And what you want might be different from what I want. So we could have the same caddy, obviously, for different tournaments, but the caddy would have to actually kind of act in different ways. Like I would maybe need different information than you would, and maybe you want to not, like I want to laugh on the course and have a lot of jokes. But maybe you're more focused. You don't want to talk to your caddy and don't have, like, because you just like to be in your zone and listen to the birds. That is something a good caddy does. And so for walking the course, obviously in college golf, we don't have caddies. We do have coaches. So that's something like a coach, if there's a player that doesn't want to walk the course because they don't want to know the details, coach in their leadership could walk the course and kind of filter the information for that specific player to make sure they have what they need, but not overshare almost. So
do you feel like there's some players?
Yeah.
Are there some players? Sorry, are there some players that just want to? You know what? I just want to know about the next shot I have to take. Like I just need to know on this shot, come up short of the water. On this shot, go. Is that kind of the mindset? Is if I get too much in my mind, I can't even sleep that night before.
Yes. So for example, we get the pins. So where the location of the pins will be the night before. I never put them in because I get nightmares. I think about it. Don't want to do that. So I do it in the morning. I do think in golf there's a fine line between kind of being ignorant to what's happening, the bad things that are happening, but being just attentive enough and smart enough to not go into hazards or kind of bad lies, like kind of planning shots well enough, so having enough information to do that, but having just not too much information to where you're focused on the wrong things. And there's a very fine line in golf, and I think with us, I mean, we play like 25 tournaments a year in probably 25 different countries, maybe say it's 20 different countries. And that approach obviously changes from course to course. Or some courses you need to be a lot more detail oriented, And there's some courses that you can be a little bit more ignorant to what's going around. So I think that's something about pro golf that's so fun. You have to adjust so much, but also so difficult because every week it's bringing its own challenge.
So what you mentioned earlier about pay in professional golf, right? If you don't play well, it doesn't pay well. And you talked about caddies being different from college to pros, and then so much more travel, especially international travel that you do as a professional. What is the thing that maybe has kind of surprised you the most about the difference between collegiate and professional?
That's a good question, because I would say that college golf is a very great just step between junior amateur golf to pro golf. I would say just like how much more, I mean, it is a job now. In college, I would go to university, like I would go to class from 8 to 12, and then we'd have practice in the afternoon. And then we'd have one practice round and 3 tournament rounds, and that was it. And we'd play like every 2 to 3 weeks. In pro golf, it's very different. You have 3 practice days, and you should use all 3 practice days, and you have 4 tournament days. So that's 7 days. Mm-hmm. Sunday night, pack up your things, go to the next location, Monday morning starts again. So obviously the turnaround is a lot quicker. The toll on your body is a lot more, and the toll on your mind is a lot more as well.
Yeah.
So you actually need to be, I would say, just so much more intentional about what you're doing and kind of find a strategy that works for you. Because in college, it's kind of like you all do the same thing because you're with a team, but in pro golf, you're the boss because you have to pay your coaches. In college, you don't have to pay your coaches. They all organize it for you, but now it's all on you. I mean, obviously, if you have management and a team around you, they help you out, but you're the boss and you are solely responsible for what's happening. And I think that is kind of the biggest change almost, I would say, is obviously the physical toll, but also the mental toll it takes. And then if you employ a caddy, you pay the caddy, you're also responsible for the caddy and for your coaches and for all of those people that are in your team. So I think just from a mental perspective, I mean, you see it, some people play really well in college and then they kind of, once they turn pro, it kind of, because maybe the responsibility
you're in a
is
leadership
too
role
much.
with the team and responsibilities for people. Yeah, that's interesting. I remember when my wife and I had a business for a number of years, and I remember the first time that our payroll got above $100,000 that we had to pay out. And I was just thinking, like, I've got to come up with that amount of money every 2 weeks. Like, that's overwhelming for me. But that's the same type of thing. It's like that you find yourself laying in bed going, how am I going to make sure all this keeps moving? Let me ask you this question, and I'll make sure I get this right. I was researching for this at the MCB Ladies Classic in Mauritius. Is that where it was?
Yes.
You entered the final round, tied for the lead. You were surrounded by crowds and cameras and microphones and live television coverage. And you later said that the fundamentals don't change. What fundamentals did you rely on?
So for me, obviously that was a very new position for me because I was co-leading.
Yeah, set the stage for us. Set the stage for us.
So I was co-leading a very big tournament. Obviously I had 1, 2 bit smaller tournaments earlier in the year. But then I played in Australia and then South Africa, and I did okay, like I did well, but not like super, super top notch. And all of a sudden I was leading. And I mean, last year I didn't even have a full status for this tour. I was kind of still battling to play tournaments, and even this year I didn't have full entry. So I wasn't like top dog basically on the tour. And so all of a sudden I'm co-leading this tournament with the other player who I just won a playoff against earlier in the year, but she's top like 30 in the world now, so very good. And then another player who's won on tour before, so very, very new setting for me, but very fun setting because that place, I had been there when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. So obviously to come back as a pro golfer now after I had played there when I was so young was very, very cool. But for me, obviously I wanted to win that final day, and maybe to spoil, I finished 5th place, which for me was awesome because there's so much, it's 132 players. And to finish that high is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And especially under that pressure, because obviously if you make mistakes, you can drop down a leaderboard very, very quickly. So did well, but I think for me, my main point, I wanted to win, but my main point was I wanted to have a light heart. I wanted to have fun. And I wanted to just kind of keep doing what I was doing and not change the way I think about things. I didn't really want to adjust my strategy too much, because obviously golf is such a strategic game. You can maybe be a bit more aggressive on shots or be less aggressive or, lay back. And I just wanted to kind of, because I was aggressive the first 2 days, keep doing that, not be scared to make mistakes, but really from an identity perspective, not be tied to the end result. Because that's something I think I'd done in the past a lot, was tie myself to the result a lot. And obviously when that was good, I was feeling very good. But in sports and in life and in, university, like academics, it's up and down. And it's just not a healthy way to look at it. So for me, I really just wanted to stay grounded and be proud of the effort and kind of my process goals basically that I had for shot making and commitment and the way I would maybe read a putt and that type of things, and really have a light heart that wouldn't rely on the result to give me an identity. And so when I walked off the course, I finished 5th place. People were like, "Oh, you fought so well." I was like, "I feel great. I did awesome. I am very happy." So I think and obviously that doesn't work every week. Not every week you're going to finish super well. Not every week you're actually going to execute on what you plan. But for me, that was a really cool way to show myself I can perform well, but also on the mental side, I can stay grounded and not be too tied up in what's happening.
Well, let's have a little fun as we tie up this round of our conversation. My producer, Jess, would tease me because I would always get, and you may even remember seeing me bring it in the classroom, Starbucks coffee. I would carry a Starbucks all the time, And she's like, how can you talk about being willing to disrupt your life and try new things, and you won't even try a different coffee? And I'm like, okay, that's fair. So I started on this pursuit of the perfect vanilla latte. Whenever I travel or go places, or even here in Nashville, there's lots of places to go to, I'll take a photo of me trying it someplace else, and it goes about my weekly newsletter that people look at, I guess, and say, hey, look, he's trying a coffee from wherever. So I'm in the pursuit of this perfect drink. So my question for you is there any drink or food, if you want to extend it, that you are in the pursuit of the perfect version of it, or have you found it? And you could let us know, hey, here's where you get the best whatever.
The perfect...
Whatever.
Okay.
Drink.
I'm going to be, and I don't think you will like this, but actually you might love it. I think for me, the perfect food or drink doesn't depend too much on the actual food or drink, but the people I share it with.
No, I love that.
So you might hate or love that, but I think for me, it's so much about the people I'm with. And I think you could have a 6 out of 10 coffee, but if it's with a 10 out of 10 people, it goes up. So
That's right.
I think that would be my answer.
I love that answer, Celina, and I love that you took the time to join us, and I love that you're doing so well, and I just love so many things about what's happening in your life, and I just thank you for joining us and showing us that there's so much. Oftentimes we use sports as analogies for business and for life, but there's a lot of reasons we do that because it kind of makes sense. I mean, is life a game of golf? No, it's different than a game of golf, but there's a lot of things we can learn from it. And you showed us today the ability to think about being committed to things and grounded in things and recognizing sometimes the ball in life is going to bounce a certain way. And sometimes you just got to kind of smile and enjoy yourself and not lose yourself in the process are all so many relatable things. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I just wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was so fun to talk about all this. And I can't wait to see what you're doing as well in the future.
You better watch out. You never know. All right. Awesome. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thanks to Celina for joining us all the way from Germany. That's all we have for today's episode. Keep an eye on her. Watch how she performs on the tour. And you'll be able to say, hey, I know who that person is. So, Celina, thanks for joining us. And everybody out there, that's all I have for today. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, go make it a great day.